Protein synthesis is an incredibly complicated process. However, for the purpose of this class and understanding why ATP energy is necessary and how the different organelles work together, I'm going to simplify it. By this point, you should know what each organelle does in a eukaryotic cell. Something you may or may not know, though, is that everything in your body is made of proteins. Your eyes are the color that they are because of proteins. Sugar gets in and out of your cells by the use of transport proteins. Structural proteins make up your ligaments, and defense proteins protect you against illnesses. But how are these proteins made? They are made through a process called protein synthesis, and this is the basic story for how protein synthesis works. Through cellular respiration, your mitochondria takes the glucose from the food that you eat or make in the case of plants, and turns it into ATP energy. Recall that this is the formula for cellular respiration. This process is incredibly important because it's what allows the whole rest of the process to happen. Because of this ATP energy, there is a protein inside of your cells, the mRNA, that reads the DNA in your nucleus to figure out what it should be making. For example, the cells in your eyes would want to make the proteins that code for your eye color and the proteins that allow you to see. These are the codes that will be in the DNA of your eye cells. Once this protein reads the protein code, it sends the information to the ribosomes. The ribosomes receive the information and start chugging away to make each of the proteins. Proteins are made out of something called amino acids. The ribosomes use the ATP energy from the mitochondria to put these amino acids together in order to form the different kinds of proteins that it was instructed to make. Once the ribosomes make the proteins, they send the proteins to the endoplasmic reticulum. This is why you can find ribosomes on the endoplasmic reticulum because they work so closely together. Once the proteins are in the endoplasmic reticulum, it uses the ATP energy from the mitochondria to sort the proteins according to their function. For example, the transport proteins needed for your cell membrane would be sorted together. The proteins that code for your eye color would be sorted together, and etc. Your endoplasmic reticulum makes sure that the types of proteins are grouped together by their type. At this point, those types will break off into vesicles and be sent to the Golgi apparatus. The Golgi apparatus uses the ATP energy from the mitochondria to package and label where each protein will go. Some of the proteins are kept within the cell, such as transport proteins for the cell membrane, and some are sent outside of the cell. The Golgi apparatus makes sure that the proteins are labeled and the cell knows where they need to go. After the Golgi apparatus determines where the proteins need to go, it either sends the proteins to the part in the cell that it needs to be, or it sends it to the cell membrane to be excreted through the transport proteins within the membrane. Remember, these transport proteins are used to transport larger particles in and out of the cell. Remember, this is a very simplified version of how protein synthesis occurs. There are a lot of other factors that I didn't include in this explanation, including the role of RNA, the different types of RNA, and the role of DNA. However, this brief synopsis should give you a good idea of how the cell is a system and why each organelle is important for your cell's functions.